You've heard of houses being too small, but what about when a house is too big? Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we are uncovering the Stone Estate, a mansion that was greatly downsized. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1862, Galen Stone was born in Leominster, Massachusetts to a working-class family. In his teens, he took a job as an office clerk in Boston, getting an early foothold in the business world. By his 20s, his talent for finance and communication led him to become a financial news reporter, specifically the financial editor of the Boston Advertiser. This role gave him insider exposure to the world of stocks and investments, and he quickly proved to have a keen understanding of the markets. Stone's big break came when he partnered with Filibustonian Charles Hayden. In the late 1890s, the duo founded the stock brokerage firm of Hayden Stone & Company, which would become one of the prominent investment houses of the time. His career as a financier took off. He accumulated stakes in a wide array of enterprises, from coal mining to steamship lines. For example, he served as president of the Atlantic Gulf and West Indies Steamship Company. And in 1900, he and his associates organized the Eastern Steamship Lines to capitalize on America's expanding transportation needs. By the early 1900s, Stone was a very wealthy man, and by the 1910s, he was not only a financier but also a philanthropist and a well-known figure in New England society, the kind of man who could seamlessly blend boardroom acumen with a charitable spirit. With a self-made fortune at his disposal, Galen Stone set out to build his dream house. By the turn of the 20th century, Marion, Massachusetts had established itself as a quiet haven for summer visitors escaping the city heat. In fact, the very site that Galen Stone chose for his estate, a peninsula known as Great Hill, already played host to the popular Marion House Hotel. In 1909, Stone purchased the entire 313-acre peninsula property. He promptly had the old Marion House Hotel demolished, sweeping aside the remnants of Victorian-era tourism to clear the way for a far more private and personal retreat. In its place, he planned to build a mansion that would rival the great summer homes of Newport and the North Shore, yet with its own unique style inspired by English country manners. To design his dream home, Galen Stone hired the Boston architectural firm of Chapman and Fraser. Stone had specific taste. He envisioned a sprawling Tudor-style mansion that exuded the charm of old England. The architects delivered in grand fashion. What rose on Great Hill between 1909 and 1911 was a rambling mansion of stone and timber, modeled closely after an actual Tudor estate in England known as Compton Wynyates. Copying Compton Wynyates was an inspired choice. That manor is a 16th century Tudor gem with a distinctive mix of brickwork, gables, and medieval towers. The Marion version, while not an exact replica, captured a similar romantic historic feel, making the stone mansion look as if it had stood on that New England hill for centuries. One especially clever and perhaps humorous touch was the material used for the walls. The Great Hill mansion was constructed using a type of bluish-gray stone quarried near Philadelphia known as Hayden stone. This choice of stone was no coincidence. Hayden Stone was the very name of Galen's investment firm. The use of Hayden Stone was a subtle pun, a way for him to quite literally set his family's name in stone as part of the house itself. While the main house was being constructed, work set out on the grounds. Sprawling gardens were planned to line the drive, both formal and informal. All about the property you could find hidden retreats as you stepped down into sunken gardens, or emerged from the woods to stumble upon parterres tucked away beneath a canopy. An army of servants made sure that these gardens were always picture perfect, cultivating flowers in the greenhouses year-round. Of the many outbuildings, of special note we find a large garage complex tucked away, then beyond rolling pastures we see a barn in the middle of an open field. Scattered about the grounds, you would find caretaker cottages and even grand gatehouses. But we could get lost exploring the expansive estate. Let's start our trek back over to the main house. Finally, as we pull up the drive, the main entrance starts to come into focus. This is where we'll enter the house, passing through the grand stone archway and swinging open the heavy wood door. At the heart of the mansion was a massive, two-story central room known as the Great Hall, around which the house was organized. Rooms on the main floor opened into this hall, creating a hub for social activity and an architectural focal point. The design embraced Tudor Revival elements, half-timbering, leaded glass windows, carved oak paneling, and more. From here we'll rotate to the dining room, which carries on these baronial themes with a heavy coffered plaster ceiling, oak paneling, and a carved fireplace mantel. Finished out in a cohesive manner, we find the music room, this time showing arts and crafts influence with the introduction of floral wallpaper above the picture rail. Next we'll pass through a pointed Gothic archway, finished out in the same rich oak, to find the library, strategically placed to capture as much natural light as possible. This room practically glows, as the sun rays add definition to the pilaster's intricate relief work. Finally, we get to what is perhaps the most personalized space in the house, the billiards room, where the Stones display their sporting and gardening awards. By the 1920s, Galen Stone had achieved nearly everything one could hope for in life. His business continued to thrive, and he remained a respected figure in finance. But rather than resting on his laurels, Stone increasingly devoted his later years to philanthropic and civic activities. For instance, Stone served as a trustee of Wellesley College from 1915 to 1925 and funded the construction of the iconic tower that still bears his name on that campus. He also continued supporting the Palmer Memorial Institute in North Carolina, a school for African American students, which he had become the largest benefactor of after meeting its founder, Dr. Charlotte Hawkins Brown, around 1915. Tragically, Galen's own time to enjoy Great Hill was cut somewhat short. In 1926, at the age of 64, he passed away from sudden heart failure. The family continued to utilize the mansion as a summer retreat, but as the years went by, it became too costly to maintain. By the late 1940s, the costs associated with maintenance and the ever-rising taxes became a burden, and something had to give. Roughly 80% of the house was demolished, and the rest was shored up and renovated, creating a much more manageable summer home. Through the 1950s and beyond, Great Hill shifted from being primarily a social showplace to being foremost a working farm. The expansive acreage, which once hosted polo matches and garden parties, now found new purposes in agriculture. The Stone family had already maintained a dairy herd on the property, and now they leaned into that identity. Cows grazed in the pastures where manicured lawns had been, and the estate's barns, once perhaps housing thoroughbred horses or carriages, were now full of hay and milking stalls. Fast forward to the late 20th century, and the farm found a niche product that would bring it a new kind of fame: blue cheese. In 1991, a member of the Stone family decided to put the old dairy operation to creative use by producing artisanal blue cheese on site. Thus was born Great Hill Dairy's blue cheese business, which over the next few decades gained renown among cheese connoisseurs. The farm's Great Hill blue cheese is made in a repurposed barn not far from where Galen's mansion once stood in all its glory. Today, if you visit Great Hill in Marion, you won't find a museum or a public park. It's still private land, but you might be able to catch a glimpse of the scaled-down mansion from the water. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about the Stone estate, or maybe something else stuck out to you? Either way, let me know down below in the comments section, and while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.